Welcome back, Algebra 1. We are going to use the bubble method for day 3. Today we are going to deal with problems that have a negative constant, which means we'll need two different signs to multiply to that number. Alright, our steps are really the same that they have been the last couple days. Identify the sum and the signs, list your factor pairs, check your bubbles, write the answer as two binomials. So here's our first example. Again, the sum that we need comes from the middle term. So we are going to need a sum of positive 6. We are trying to multiply to a negative 1, which means we would need a positive number and a negative number. Okay, so we list our factors. Now this problem is pretty easy because the only things that will multiply to 7 would be 1 and 7. The only things that would multiply to a negative 1 would be a positive 1 and a negative 1. So those are really the only two bubbles that we're working with. We just have to decide how to multiply together in order to get a positive 6. So for example, if I were to just multiply straight across here, 1 times 1 is 1, 7 times negative 1 is negative 7, and when I add those together, I get negative 6. That doesn't work for me because I need a positive 6. So we're going to have to try again, which means we need to flip-flop the way our bubbles get connected. Okay, so this time I'm taking 1 times negative 1 to get negative 1. 7 times 1 gives me positive 7, and when we add those together, we get that positive 6 that I was looking for. All right, the last thing we need to do is write our answer. So we need two binomials. Remember, the first bubble tells you what goes in the front of each of these. So in the front, I need a 1x and a 7x. Then we can use our little smiley face and nose to remember how these get connected. So the 1 connected with the negative 1. So 1x, follow the big smiley all the way to the back. Since it was negative, we'll put minus 1. The 7 connected to a positive 1, so on the inside there, 7 connects over here to a plus 1. And there is my answer. Okay, let's try another one. All right, this time our sum in the middle is a negative 9, so that's the sum that we need. We're trying to multiply to a negative number in the back, negative 81, so we'll need a plus and a minus. So our factors for the leading coefficient would just be 1 and 2. Our factors for 81, we've got more options. Actually, it's a negative 81. So when we do these, we could have positive 1, negative 81. We could have negative 1, positive 81. Let's see, 2 won't work, 3 would work. We could have 3 and negative 27, or negative 3 and positive 27. I think the only other option we have would be positive 9 and negative 9. Or, of course, we could flip-flop those, so that one's really the same thing either way. So these are all of our bubble options for negative 81. So we have to pick out which one we're going to use. Now these ones get a little trickier because now we have a lot more options. I'm going to recommend starting with the one that has two of the same number, just because it is a little bit quicker. And if it is correct, then we'll be in good shape. Now we still have to decide how we're connecting these bubbles, so let's go straight across first. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. When we add those together, we get negative 9, which is good. That's what we wanted. We wanted a sum of negative 9. So we don't have to worry about any of these other bubbles here. We don't even have to try them because we found the one that worked right away. So let's write our answer. 2 binomials. In the fronts, again, my first bubble tells me what to put in the front with the x's. 1x and 2x. Then we can use our little smiley face to help us out. The 1 connected to the 9, so the 1x connects all the way back to a positive 9. The 2 connected to the negative 9, so 2x, make the little nose to a negative 9. That's our answer. Okay, write down any questions you have, confusion about this. These ones do require a little more guess and check than the previous problems. Like with the X method, it was a little bit quicker. All right, on this one, we need a sum of positive 14. That comes from the middle term, positive 14. We are trying to multiply to a negative, so we would need a positive and a negative to do that. So when we go to write our factors, the only bubble for 3 would be 1 and 3. For negative 49, we could have 1 and negative 49, or negative 1 positive 49. We could have 7 and negative 7. So those are our bubbles. Again, I like to start with the one that has two of the same number when that happens. It doesn't always happen. We just kind of have been lucky on that this time. So let's start by going straight across. So 1 times 7 is 7. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. And if I add those together, I get negative 14. Is that what I wanted? Hopefully you're saying no. We want a positive 14, not a negative 14. Which means this is not the correct matchup for our bubbles. Instead, let's try flipping them. So we would take 1 times negative 7 to get negative 7, and 3 times positive 7 to get positive 21. Now when we add them, we do get a positive 14. So if you ever are coming out with the right number with the wrong sign, you probably just need to flip how you're multiplying. All right, to write our answer, first bubble tells us what to put in front, 1x and 3x. And then we make our little smiley face and our nose, the 1 connected to the negative 7 in our bubbles. So 1x connects all the way around to negative 7 back here. 3x needs to connect on the inside to the positive 7. So we fill that in, and that is our answer. Okay, let's go through one more example. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video for a minute and work on this problem on your own. And then when you resume, I'll put the answer up here for you to check yourself. Even if you're not sure that you can get through the whole thing, go ahead and pause it and see how much you can get through. Because you should be able to fill in the sum and the signs, and you should be able to write your possible bubbles at the very least. All right, hopefully you were able to try this problem on your own. We've got the work and the answer up here. We needed a sum of positive 3. We needed 2 different signs, plus and minus, to multiply to that negative in the back. So our bubble for 2 would just be 1 times 2. And we have all our possible bubbles for negative 27. The one that worked out for us was negative 3 and positive 9. We needed to multiply 1 times 9, 2 times negative 3. That gave us a sum of 3. So then you can see how we connected in our binomials to make sure the right numbers got matched up. Okay, if you've got questions, write them down, send them to me in a comment or an email. We are going to continue practicing this method next week. I might also look for some videos of other teachers from anywhere around the world explaining these problems also, so maybe you could hear it from a different perspective. But send me your questions if you have them.